This week we also look at special purpose stored procedures called triggers. They are called this for good reason because, as the name implies, action is triggered when they are fired. One of the biggest differences between basic stored procedures and their special purpose cousins, triggers, is that triggers are not called in the standard sense. They are set up to run automatically as a result of some event that has occurred. So they can be very powerful and also extremely dangerous. In fact, in some places, maybe even most places you will not be allowed to write triggers. They are banned from use by all but a very few or even one or none of the developers on a team. However, due to their power, you should know about them and how to write them. At some point in your career, they may be a very useful way to implement a tricky requirement. Because of their power and potential for destruction, they should only be used when other standard methods of handling your task are just not going to work. In other words, the last resort. The syntax to create a trigger is shown here. You first name the trigger in the create trigger statement. The on statement identifies which table or view it affects. For and after are exactly the same and execute after the action. Instead of triggers, fire instead of the action, query. The trigger can be set to fire on insert, update, or delete statements. Within a trigger, you can refer to two tables that are created by the system, inserted and deleted. The inserted table contains the new rows for insert and update operations. The deleted table contains the original rows for update and delete operations. A trigger is associated with a single table or view, which you identify in the on clause. A trigger can be set to fire after the action query or instead of the action query. A table can have multiple after triggers. A view cannot have an after trigger. It is a common practice to name triggers based on the table or view and the actions that will cause the trigger to fire. A for trigger is the same as an after trigger. This after trigger corrects mixed case state names. And this will fire the trigger. And this will allow us to view the results. Within a trigger, you can refer to two tables that are created by the system, inserted and deleted. The inserted table contains the new rows for insert and update operations. The deleted table contains the original rows for update and delete operations. An after trigger fires after the action query is executed. If the action query causes an error, the after trigger never fires. After triggers can be used to archive deleted data. This example archives deleted data. Let's first look at the invoices table. And this causes the trigger to fire. And now we check the results of the archive table. Triggers can also be used to enforce data consistency. This example validates line item amounts when posting a payment. I am not going to go through it now, but I encourage you to review it and execute it. Post any questions you have to discussions. This slide summarizes the uses for triggers. You can use them like database constraints. You can prevent harmful actions before they occur with instead of. You can validate that data is correct. And you can track what changes have been made to databases and by whom. In this chapter, we have learned how to create three types of executable data objects. Stored procedures are the most flexible because you can use them in so many different ways. Functions are also powerful tools at your disposal. Finally, triggers may be a last resort for solving difficult problems.